Lewis Hamilton is the most accomplished Formula One driver of all time, but also the most different. He learned how to drive on an old hand-me-down go-kart. He's the only black F1 driver, and he's involved in fashion and music as an athlete. In this video, I'll cover exactly how Lewis Hamilton embraced his differences, which allowed him to become one of the greatest F1 drivers of all time. Lewis Hamilton grew up with a love for racing and wanted to start racing go-karts. His family didn't have much money, but his father gathered as much as he could to buy an old fifth-hand go-kart. When he showed up to his first race in his old, dingy kart compared to his competitors' new, expensive karts, he was embarrassed as everyone stopped and stared. But this fueled his competitive edge, and people were staring for a different reason when he won. He got better and better, and eventually, at 13 years old, he signed to McLaren. This lifted the financial burden for his family, but he still had to perform if he wanted to stay signed and accomplish his dream of driving Formula One. He studied the advanced mechanics of his car as often as possible, he stayed longer than anyone on the tracks, and he gave his all in every race. The result was multiple major wins and championships. Then at 21, he earned a spot in Formula One. When Hamilton made his Formula One debut, he was the first black driver in the history of the sport. He quickly realized that there was a certain mold that most drivers fit, but since he already stuck out, he felt that he might as well continue to be different. He attended fashion shows and debuted his new clothing line. Before securing a pole position, he practiced instruments like the guitar and piano and made his own music by singing in a recording studio. And following a championship win, he embraced his celebrity by attending events and speaking on talk shows. He did all this, yet he still performed on the track. In 2020, Lewis Hamilton won his 7th World Drivers' Championship for the most titles in Formula One history. So how did Lewis Hamilton embrace his differences?
I've had to find my own way. No one could tell me, do it like this, because that's gonna work. So you just have to discover it.
Hamilton learned that he had to do what was best for him, even if it was different from everyone else. Typically, when we have differences, what do? We either hide them or disregard them and try to do things the way that everyone else is doing. But that's the mindset of a loser, because when we hide our differences, we limit the potential that we have. If Muhammad Ali hid his interest in poetry, he wouldn't have been able to gather as much interest from fans or use it to intimidate his opponents.
I can drown a drink of water and kill a dead tree. Wait till you see Muhammad Ali.
And then when we disregard our differences and just follow the pack, we miss out on all the new innovations that we could be making. Steph Curry influenced the entire NBA to start shooting more three-pointers because he was so effective at them. So although our differences make us stand out, they give us an unfair advantage if we use them because no one else has them. So when Hamilton began his racing career driving an old, dingy go-kart, he learned certain skills and developed a competitiveness that other kids with their fancy go-karts didn't learn. When Hamilton stood out as the first black driver, he decided to innovate and do things that he enjoyed, like music and fashion, which helped him be more creative when he was racing. He realized that to maximize his unique potential, he had to think and do things differently than everyone else. This is the mindset of a winner. Now, you may get a little intimidated about this and think that you have to invent this whole new way of thinking, but you don't have to because you're already different by default. Thinking different is natural because naturally you are different. Now you just have to accept your differences and understand that you require a different path than others to reach the same destination. And you have to take an even crazier path if you want to travel further. Everyone's different. What works for others may not work for you, and vice versa. Realize that you're special and be the athlete in person who only you can be. But it's still difficult to act on your differences and embrace them. So to practice this, ask yourself, what do I as an individual want to do that may not be considered normal? For Hamilton, it was changing his driving style, accepting his celebrity, engaging in music and fashion, and his work ethic outside the track. For you, it may be that you want to use a new style or technique, a different tactic or strategy, or train in a different way. By taking this different path that's outside of the norm, you open the door to all these new possibilities that only you can unlock. But remember, you don't have to try to be different. You're different by nature. And once you embrace these differences, you'll maximize your potential by taking the path that only you can take.